In this tutorial, we will be working on a transaction data set to do simple profiling. So here we are given a table with a customer identifier, transaction date, and transaction amount columns. The field window indicates whether the transaction was made prior to December 2008 or after. This will be used in subsequent analysis to compare profiles of customers between the two periods. Notice that a formula has already been specified in this cell. This simply creates a flag with values 1 and 2. 1 if the date is less than or equal to December 31, 2008, and 2 otherwise. Since we have already correctly specified the formula here, to apply the formula downwards, let's just double click on the right hand corner of the cell, and then the rest of the cells under this column will be populated. So to begin, let us get the recency score for Windows 1 and 2. Notice that we have two pivot tables. To be able to compute for the month since last purchase, we first need to get the last transaction date. So to do that, let's first activate this pivot table. So click on any cell under row labels, and then while this section is active, drag date to values. Now again, the specification of this pivot table is as follows. So we have the window flag as the filter, the customer identifier under rows, and then we just dragged date to values. The default aggregation is count. So to get the latest transaction date, we need to change count to maximum. So to do that, just right click on any of these values here. Then go to summarize values by, and then click on max. Since Excel treats dates as numeric, the values that you can see here expectedly are in number format. So to change it into dates, just highlight everything under max of date, then right click, go to number format, and then click date. Just use the default selections, then click OK. So now we have the last transaction date per customer. Now you'll notice in this column here, for the first customer, there is already a formula defined. So this simply gets the month since last purchase by subtracting the last date for this particular window from the max date defined here. So again, this date here in the formula, the 1231, is the end date for window 1. I8 here is the last transaction date for that particular customer. Now, instead of using subtraction formula, we make use of the function days. And this works similarly to subtracting start date from end date. And then to convert the result to months, we simply divide the outcome by 30. Since this is already correctly defined, let's just double click on this corner here to apply the formula downwards. So let's repeat the process for window 2. Again, activate the pivot table so that we see this section here. Let's drag date to values. And then let's change the aggregation to maximum. So in this formula, you will notice that we are getting the maximum of the date, which means that we're getting the latest transaction for the entire customer base. And that is equivalent to the end date of window 2. So since this had already been correctly defined, just double click on this corner here to apply the formula downwards. To make the format the same as in the first pivot table, so just highlight everything under max date, right click, choose number format, and then choose date, and click OK.